Kia ora and welcome to the first tutorial on how to effectively use language in your writing. The idea with any of these tutorials is that we will talk you through a couple of the skills that you then will be able to add to your kete, so to your basket or to your toolbox when it comes to writing, and so hopefully you will find these skills useful as you are working on your writing portfolios or on your formal and creative pieces of writing. So let's have a look at some of the basics. First of all, we need to understand that language manipulates a reader, and so words really have magical power. They can bring the greatest happiness or the deepest despair, as Freud said. And so what we need you to be aware of is that every day we are impacted or influenced, manipulated and controlled by words, by the words that other people use, by the words that we are reading, also by the words that we are using. And so with our words we are influencing people as well. It might be negative or positive. Either way, we can use the language for our own purposes in writing to try and command the attention of an audience. And so just as much as we are being influenced by language, we have the power to influence other people with the use of our language. Now, some of the words that we are using are more powerful than others. So for example, verbs tend to have more power than adverbs. Also, sometimes it can be much more powerful to say something in a direct way rather than talking around the point or saying things indirectly. Again, often choosing one powerful adjective is way better than using three adjectives. And so as you're writing and you're trying to describe a situation, try and pick the one word that perfectly describes, or as perfectly as possible describes what you are imagining, rather than trying to use lots and lots and lots of words. And so every time you select your words, consider the impact of the language that you used, the word choice, the structure, but also the phrasing in general, and we'll talk a bit more about that a bit later. Okay, so when you're using language features in formal writing, you want to just think about a couple of things. And so first of all, formal writing often means that you include persuasive language. And so when we think of formal writing, we're really thinking of writing in a particular kind of form, and often that has persuasive elements. So you might want to sell products or services, you might want to convince people to accept your view or your idea, or you might want to get the audience to agree with a particular view on a topic or to disagree. And so persuasive language can be really powerful if you know how to use it well. So, as you're writing your formal piece of writing, it's a good idea, particularly if it's a persuasive piece of writing and you're sort of writing your own opinion, or you're stating a particular point of view, to basically already think about what somebody of a different opinion might argue. And so you're presenting your point of view, but at the same time you're thinking about, okay, so if somebody was trying to convince people otherwise, or somebody was trying to argue against my opinion, what would they say? And then that can help you really shape your argument. You can also explicitly mention what a possible counter-argument might be, and then explain how that's really not a very convincing argument. So it can make your own point appear much stronger, and that's ultimately what you want to achieve. So the example we're going to look at is one of William Wallace. So William Wallace led the Scottish Rebellion against Edward I in the 14th century. His exploits were made into the film Braveheart. In this extract from his speech for freedom, think about his overall purpose and how he's trying to convince his audience in a certain way. Let's have a look at that. I am William Wallace, and I see a whole army of my countrymen here in defiance of tyranny. You have come to fight as free men, and free men you are. What will you do without freedom? Will you fight? Yes. Fight and you may die. Run and you will live at least a while. And dying in your bed many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here as young men and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they will never take our freedom? Right, so have a think about that. What's the persuasive language in this piece? You could pause it here as well and have a look at the words that are in this particular quote. And So if we look at a little bit of the analysis here, so William Wallace uses many personal pronouns. So he uses I, you, and our to make sure that the audience feel as though he's actually speaking to them, and also that he includes himself in that, right? So he uses our, he uses we. He also repeats the use of free, really emphasizing that that is the message that he wants to get across as the main topic of his speech. And he's got those rhetorical questions, one after another, to kind of plant the thought in the listener's head, I guess, and making them feel that they must fight to protect their freedom. Also, the last sentence or the closing sentence is highly emotive, and so he does use the word freedom to leave that as the overall message with his audience. And so you can do the same when you do when you work on your piece of writing. You can have a look at, okay, so what are the words that I want to use? What kind of thought do I want to leave my audience with? What is the core message? Which words can I use to actually make sure that that message comes across? Now, when we're doing formal writing, please make sure that you use formal language. And so depending on the form that you're choosing, so don't confuse formal writing with exam essay writing. Formal writing essentially means it takes a particular form, so that could be an editorial or an opinion piece, or it could be a blog, it could be a police type report. So whatever the form is that you have chosen, make sure that you match the language with that form. This may mean that you'll have to read a couple of those types of texts to make sure that you get the language right. So you don't want to use text speak in your formal writing. We're just going to look at a couple of examples of things that you might be able to use. So if you're writing a persuasive piece, flattering your audience is always a good idea. And so flattery you can use. A person of your intelligence deserves much better than this. And again, in persuasive writing, you can actually directly address your audience if you would like to. You can put an opinion, so you can say, in my view, and be really clear about that. You can put in a hyperbole, so exaggerating, this is out of this world. Personal pronouns, we just talked about with William Wallace's example. You, I, we, so including yourself in the audience as well, or directly addressing the audience. You can use an imperative, so really trying to get people to buy in, or to do a particular thing, so get on board or get out there and protest and things like that. Also, things in writing often come in threes, so you might give 3 points to support and list those. You can use emotive language. Statistics work really well, and so you can put some numbers in there. And also, as we just saw, rhetorical questions work very well. So that was the first one of our writing tutorials. Hopefully you found some useful skills and tools to put into your kete or into your basket, into your toolbox. Feel free to go back and pause obviously on the slides if you need them. Otherwise, take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.